What is going on, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of Garbear Fitness. So before I start today's video, I want to talk about some things I'm coming up in production with for Garbear Fitness. First thing is hats. So I just posted this on my social media, guys. So on my Instagrams, at Garbear Fitness and at Watson Alexander. All those social media platforms will be in the description box below. I'm putting up voting polls for which hats. So there's a couple different selections of hats my graphic designer Jorge and I are looking at, and we want your guys' feedback on which ones we'll be putting out into the shop. So there's going to be a choice of 2 of them, and once that's done and the hats get released, 2 free hats will be given away. So make sure you guys finish that voting and make sure you guys are ready for the new good shit. But on another topic, guys, I'm still working on getting these leggings and joggers out. I kind of wanted to spend more time getting everything I needed done for those and finding which brand and things like that I wanted to go with. So I figured I might as well, in the meantime, since spring's coming up, work on these hats to come out as well. Speaking on training too, my gym, I actually walked into Iron Religion yesterday, and there's some strength competition they might be having. Some, I guess it's like with bodybuilding, powerlifting, CrossFit, things like that. April 28th. And you know, maybe I'll be going with some friends. I'm not sure yet, but if you guys are definitely interested in going, let me know. And if you're in the Orlando or Florida area. Not entirely sure if I still want to do it yet or not, but if I can get my deadlift, squats, and bench back up into the regions they used to be in before, which are like the late 200s for my bench and the 400s, like early to mid 400s for my deadlifts and squats, then hell yeah, I'm gonna be entering this thing. So on to today's topic, and as you guys can see, I'm sitting outside. It's a beautiful Monday morning, and what I'm going to be doing in this video is talking about breathing through your nose versus breathing through your mouth. So the interesting thing with that is that I believe that a lot of times people don't know which one to do. Whoever's more comfortable, they'll sometimes just go with that, or whatever they're kind of been doing for the past couple of years. They'll find an intake into those breathing patterns through the rest of their life, or you know, with running, swimming, whatever. And obviously different sports require different breathing patterns, but I kind of want to get a general basis of why breathing through your nose is better than breathing through your mouth. So one thing I started doing, actually, guys, and I used to do it back when I was in Philadelphia, is breathing through my nose when I run. So the thing is that, and I should say the first note, so note number 1, breathing through your nose, it will force you to slow down your breathing pattern and almost like get yourself like into a regulated state. Because I mean, you got to think, when you're in like a natural, just resting, relaxing state, you're breathing through your nose. And when I breathe through my nose when I run, and I get like a good breathing pattern and hit like what they call a runner's high, I feel like I can almost go forever. Which, I mean, now I'm kind of like working back up on getting my time with that in, like into a real good amount. It's about 4 minutes in I can do it with just breathing through my nose. But you'll kind of realize when you're like regulating in that sense, and that kind of that natural breathing rhythm is established, you will, and my opinion, you will feel that you can go a lot longer and you'll feel a lot more comfortable breathing as well. So that's note number 1, guys, is nasal breathing forces us to slow down and just kind of get into a relaxed state with and without exercise. And due to this natural pattern of breathing, it relieves hypertension and stress. Now, speaking on to that, I know sometimes with meditation and different meditation platforms and yoga platforms, it requires you to breathe through your mouth at times. And there are times when I feel that breathing through my mouth during those, I can kind of release a whole lot more stress at once versus my nose. So I kind of go back and forth. So I don't want to kind of confuse those two, like a natural or a running state versus like a meditative state. And I definitely think that there's times when you can go back and forth and they're both beneficial for you. But as of right now, other than other than meditating, I feel that breathing through your nose is the most optimal way to breathe. And so when you're breathing through your mouth versus your nose, when you're pulling in oxygen into your lungs without going through your nose, so because your nasal system has a filtration system in it, and when you're pulling in oxygen through your lungs, it's passing that filtration system, and your lungs are very sensitive, so oxygen needs to go through that filtration system before it goes into your lungs and then comes back out as carbon dioxide. So the first part of the filtration system is the hair filters particles in the air when you're pulling it in through your nose. Second step is that your sinuses actually regulate and condition the air going in, and it helps produce nitric oxide, which helps with lung function. Your nasal mucus has an enzyme in it that actually kills viruses and bacteria. And finally, before it actually hits the lungs, it goes through the adenoids and the tonsils. So you guys can see that there's actually, despite this being a small part of your body, and even just your facial structure, that it's going through a lot before the air is properly ready to go into your lungs. So the next thing, guys, is that breathing through your nose also has a lot of different functions that it's doing in the body, not just filtering air in and out of the body, but it helps with cell growth, it helps with neurotransmission, which are signals going back and forth across your brain, and it helps with cardiovascular homeostasis, which has to do with regulating your heart rate. So I'm sure you guys have seen on TV and movies and TV shows, or even in general, if someone has a paper bag over their mouth when they're having a panic attack. The interesting thing about that is that when you release too much CO2, which is carbon dioxide from your body when you're breathing through your mouth, it's called hypocapnia. And what people do with the paper bags is because the bags aren't releasing any air on the back, and they're pulling that CO2 back into the body to get the body back into a regulatory state of breathing. So now the interesting thing, a lot of times people will think that carbon dioxide is bad for your body, but realistically carbon dioxide releases oxygen from the red blood cells. On that note, you also have to think too, when the body's in a natural relaxed, I would call it a homeostasis mode, when you are pulling in a lot more oxygen and then releasing a lot of CO2, your body's not going to have time to utilize all that oxygen, and then your body's releasing a lot of CO2 at the same time. So again, like when it comes to running and things like that, guys, I've also kind of noticed that when I breathe through my mouth versus breathing through my nose, I'm almost more tired than I am versus trying to get back into a regular state of breathing. And the coolest thing I found when I was doing research, guys, is there's a tribe in Mexico, a native tribe in Mexico, the Tarahumara, and they were able to run hundreds of miles a day just breathing through their nose. And it's interesting how, like, over time, just, you know, as evolution went on, like, people have picked up different habits and studies in science change, but I believe that there's a lot of things that we can learn from, you know, studying and dating history back to previous periods of time, especially when it comes to things like diet, exercise, my mental states. And what's very interesting as well is that, you know, different sports require different things. So obviously when you're swimming, I swam for a couple years, you know, like 4 or 5 years at a time. I wasn't swimming for any schools or anything, but anyway, it's very interesting because in swimming, there's no way in God's heaven or earth that you can breathe through your nose the whole time. You have to breathe out through your mouth because you have such a limited time. When you're coming up like in a butterfly stroke, like a lot of times you'll see people will come up to the side and dip their head up and their mouth will open up this way when they're going in to pull in air. You have such a small amount of time to pull in air when you're doing certain strokes, and obviously like you need to suck in as much oxygen as you can before you go back underwater. Another sport that's very interesting, I've heard of 2 different things, is fighting. So with street fighting, it's best to keep your mouth closed because you don't want your mouth open, and if someone hits you in the face, your jaw can break. But when you're in the cage and you get able to get a mouth guard, you can bite onto it because there's actually holes in it for you to breathe. So it's very interesting, guys, how different sports and different things in life require you to breathe different ways. But I really want to know what you guys think. Garbear Fitness checking out. If you guys have any comments, questions or concerns, leave them in the comment section below or on my social media pages. Message me, whatever you want, but I definitely want to kind of start debates on these things and get your guys' opinions on them. Make sure you guys do the voting on the hats. Garbear Fitness checking out once again. Stay shredded and let's keep breathing right.